Makes you think, okay. All right, guys, so here we are. I am with my friend Jessica Bonner Gomez, and tonight we're going to be doing like a little fireside chat with you guys to talk to you about the best and worst experiences that we've had with our students. So we wrote down quite a bit of things, but we won't make you guys wait for too long. We're going to be here for about 40 minutes. And so we're going to start with the worst because, quite often that's like the juiciest, but it's also like maybe get the difficult stories over with, because sometimes talking about the bad experience with students is more emotional, wouldn't you say?
Right. I would agree with that.
Okay. So how do you feel about going first to explain, and it didn't have to be in any particular order, just like 3 bad experiences with students and perhaps some things that you did, things that you learned, and things that you did to deal with that. It's okay to say, I totally messed up, and here's what I would do next time if that ever happened.
Okay. So for those of you who do not know me, my name is Jessica Bonner Gomez. I'm founder and owner of forotherprizes Consulting, which is located in Birmingham, Alabama. Okay, so one of my worst case scenarios was just with a student who did not really seem interested at all in the session. I personally felt like, oh, wow, what can I do to make the person more interested? But it seemed like no matter how much I tried to, even if I pepped up or tried to ask about the person's interest, it was like, yeah, no, yeah, no, I guess,
Yeah. Oh, and you feel like you're like, I feel annoying. Oh,
Right. Like I'm thinking, what can I do? And then interestingly, well, I guess not surprisingly, there were no other follow-up sessions, but there was like also the parent didn't say anything about, well, anything in particular about like what she recommend to improve. I guess maybe it was one of those situations where maybe it just was not going to be a fit. And so that it just went out that way. But in a sense, I was a little relieved because, if I have students that's apathetic like that, I just don't ever feel like I could do anything to please them or make them feel comfortable with me. I don't know what else to do after that.
Yeah. Oh, let's say hey to Natalie. Remember, you can click over and
hello.
There you go. Okay, so you should be able to see the chat and as people come in. And of course, we're going to be recording. So yeah, I totally forgot to introduce you, even though I said I was going to, probably because, we did this before, whatever. But
right.
So when you're talking about that the awkward talking to a wall student was the online student, right?
That actually was in person. I think I remember that maybe about 2. Oh, was that an online? Let me think about it for a moment. No, I'm sorry. That wasn't online. It's been about 2 or 3 years. So that's why for me, it's kind of a distant memory, and it was pre-COVID times. So, but even then it was like, yeah, we're not going to connect really at all.
Well, okay. So no, I get it, because sometimes they just don't want to talk, and if there's no body language to read, there's no like, it's just it's weird. Well, my stories are really all from the classroom. The kids I have now online, I haven't had a bad experience other than a little bit like technical difficulties. That's always kind of tough for an online tutor. It just comes with the territory. So this is something that when you go to school and you think, I'm going to teach in the classroom, because that was my route. All I was worried about was, can I teach Romeo and Juliet? Because this is my first time teaching it. And I had a student in the classroom who you know how it does it. They start out okay, and then as time progresses, they get a little more squirrely. And then he was gone for a couple of days. Then he shows up to class, and I was gonna say, I won't say his name here, but I said, "Oh, so and so, where have you been?" And then I noticed this contraption on his ankle. And everybody was looking down at him, and they're like, "Oh, look at that." Well, guess what? It was an ankle monitor. So he'd gotten in some trouble with the law, and this was a 9th grader, so they're still minors. And he's like, "Well, yeah, you got in trouble." And I thought, oh dear, well, okay. Well, they all had assigned seats. Then he says, "I can't sit my assigned seat. I can't." Okay, why not? And he's just demanding that he sits near the wall socket so he can charge his ankle monitor, because if the thing dies, then his, what do they call it, their PO, there's somebody, they'll show up. So he was, I think, allowed to come to school and go home, and I think that's it. And I guess that's like this GPS tracking. And I was just like, I felt just, a smorgasbord of emotions. I thought, first of all, what did you do? Should I be worried? And then secondly, kind of angry at the school for not warning me. Nobody told me. Nobody gave me the heads up. Hey, we got an ankle monitor. It's just we're trying to take care of these kids, keep them out of trouble. This is just a way. None of that. And then I thought, maybe he just wants to sit there and charge his phone. What if the ankle monitor is okay? Like I didn't sign up for law enforcement. I didn't know anything about it. So it was just, I felt really lost and awkward. And I let him plug it in. And he kind of gave me the pressure, like, well, I might come, he's going to come and get me, like I have to charge it. And I thought, why do you need to charge it? So it was like a moment of not being prepared, not knowing what to do. And it was, I didn't have time to go rush out and say, hey, other teachers, what do I do? Because it felt like everyone else's kids are perfect and mine kept issues. That was my first year of teaching. And now I guess I laugh at that. But in the moment, super awkward. Not good.
Wow, right. That is very interesting there.
Yep, I mean, I guess that's a thing. Later I did have another ankle monitor kid, and I started thinking, is this normal? Like, because really both kids that had ankle monitors weren't the worst kids I'd ever had, but they had some outside issues going on in the home, and so.
Okay, gotcha.
I won't go on and on with it, but I guess I could. Yeah, Natalie says that's crazy. What a great, yeah, you're telling me. It was like cold hard reality immediately, and I thought, I don't know that I'm cut out for this, but I'm gonna really try. All right, so second most difficult experience.
Okay, so since you talked about something in the classroom, once upon a time I used to teach in the classroom, and I used to teach college freshmen, and I did it about 3.5 years. So one of these years, it was one of the most bizarre situations during the semester. So I had this one student, and he was attending class regularly, and all of a sudden he just stopped attending. And so I was wondering, like, okay, what happened to the student? Why isn't he attending anymore? He didn't reach out to me, like he didn't email me or anything. And then he came back to school maybe about 3 weeks later. We're almost at I think we only have 2 weeks left in the semester. So, this is like grading time. I have to put in and get ready to put in my final grades. And so he comes in, he's like, hey, and so I was Miss Bonner at the time before I was married. So he's like, hey, Miss Bonner, so I was just want to talk to you about my grades, if I could see if I could, make up all these. I think it was like 2 papers or something he missed. It was like probably 3 big assignments or something.
Sure.
And I said, well, why hadn't you contacted me before? And I think he said something, yeah, I was in a car wreck. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry about that. He said, well, I'm okay. I'm okay. Like, yeah, I was fine. And I said, okay, so you was in a car wreck. You're okay. You did not contact me in 3 weeks. He said, you know what I told you before, that I had an issue with my email. I was like, so you didn't get in contact with anybody at the school, not even call with the phone and to the school and say, hey, somebody help me out. You didn't say anything. And he was just looking at me blankly. And I was like, I'm sorry, I cannot help you with that. And also just being a teacher of college freshmen, I mean, you have to teach them responsibility. They're already 18 plus when they come in your classroom on average. And so if I'm like, oh yeah, I'm just going to go back and forgive all those 3 weeks of class that you missed. And also, I think there were also penalties too for being absent so many days. So yeah, it was like an automatic fail after so many days, and you didn't give any excuses at all. So he popped up 3 weeks later, and I think that was a Tuesday, Thursday class I was teaching at that time. So he was missing. He had missed 6 days by that point, and I'm just thinking that's not acceptable. So yeah, I hate to say it, but he did fail the class, but that was just a big lesson in communication. People, you got to communicate.
Yeah.
That was bizarre because the car accident, I'm thinking it's severe, and it's like, no, I'm okay. I'm like, oh, okay, what happened?
Yeah, he just kind of used it as a way to kind of lay out of school for a while, and then, oh yeah, are you going to do me favors? That is extremely common. It's definitely happening in virtual school. It's just, I don't have, I couldn't, I missed the test deadline. Can you give me the code to get back in? Like that'll happen to my husband's students. And he acts so frustrated. As I said, I'm just not surprised, unfortunately, because when you're young, you're not thinking enough. You get older and you realize, okay, that was really irresponsible of me. So did he end up passing the class, or sometimes they disappear and have to retake the class?
he did not pass my class. Now, more than likely, he had to retake the whole class. But, normally when I hate to say it, when I failed students, they do not come back to me again to retake the class. So.
Good, because you're fair. I had a few students in the past who had failed the previous course with another teacher, and they had straightened up. They'd and they were able to pitch in because they're like, oh yeah, I remember this story. I remember this. So it's like, well, yeah, because you had it last year. You just, didn't turn work in or something. So my second, here's one, a little different issue. So this was in a middle school. This was my last year in the official classroom, and I had a class that they were, you know how middle schoolers can be. They're could sometimes be out of control. And so I had one little boy. It's usually a boy, unfortunately. I think I attract troublesome males in the class. And there was another girl in the room who she had a hyperpigmentation where her skin was it was like tan and white, and it was noticeable. You could see it on her hands, and it wasn't jarring, and she I don't think she had a health concern. It was just a difference in her skin. It was and so one day this little boy and this girl, they were kind of bickering, and finally she kind of was sassy with him. So he stood up and said, well, at least I don't look like a Dalmatian.
Oh,
I was
wow.
And you know how teachers usually they can step right in and save the day. I was gross. I was like, this is wrong. What do I do? And so, he was a kid who I was constantly getting onto anyway. So to get onto him just felt like a broken record. I'm like, okay, we got to go out in the hall and have this conversation. And the girl she acted pretty resilient. She's like, I don't care. Yeah, this is me. But still, it's in 7th grade.
Mm-hmm.
I can't stand it. I don't want a kid saying mean things to me, but honestly, I really don't like when they would be hateful like that to one another.
Right.
That made me feel, because then I thought, shoot, now I have to act like a parent and figure out how to solve this. And now I guess I have to call his parent, which I really don't want to do. And, he was just mouthy. He just wanted attention. He had short man syndrome. So what I think. Yeah. And he was, I don't know, he had some academic issues. So anyway, the girl was okay, but I just made sure, I thought I better make sure that she feels that I did something about this and that I wasn't whatever. Because, you remember teachers who acted appropriately, and other teachers who were well, they didn't do anything. Because sometimes an adult just doesn't know because they've never had to deal with that type of conflict. And I just thought, once again, I'm not prepared with a good enough comeback fast enough, So that was worst experience number 2. That just something that stood out that, I don't know. Do you know what you would have said?
What's that?
What would you have said? At least I don't look like a Dalmatian. I don't know how to.
Yeah. My probably automatic reaction is don't say that. I did actually say that to the class was don't say that. In one of my classes.
Yeah. So anyway, your turn. What is your next? Let's see. I'm gonna lose track. Your third worst experience.
Yeah, third worst experience. Okay, and I'm thinking back now also to the college days teaching. Oh, there was this one interesting time. Now I was a young teacher, and I started off as a graduate assistant. So you're not quite at the when you're not certified yet, you don't have your teaching degree and all that stuff yet. So you're still the student, and but you're the teacher student, and you have a class all to yourself. So I probably was 25 at this time, and I had a student in my class who was actually just a little bit older than me. And what I learned over time was that we graduated from high school in the same exact year. We just went our separate ways. And we didn't go to the same high school. We were both in the state of Alabama. He went to one high school. I went to another high school. We never knew each other. We graduated the same exact year from high school. And so he ended up being in my class years later. So what his path was, he went into the military. So, some people in the military, they go and they retire, they become veterans in their 20s sometimes, and they retire and get out the military. And so then, we were basically around the same age. And so he was my student in my class. And so one time we had,
Awkward.
And I know it's already interesting, and you know, I like to give people a benefit of a doubt and expect that everyone's going to be responsible and whatnot. So he was also like my class clown student, which for the most part, it really didn't bother me. And maybe because it can be so serious in the military, that probably was why he came out that way, which was okay. He overall got his work done, but there was this one requirement I had on my syllabus for everyone to do. And it was like, and it was pretty much the university rule, basically. Every student in freshman English had to buy this little packet. I think it was called My Comp Lab. It's like a little book, and then you have a code on there. You can online do your lessons through these various modules. So 1 week it could be commas, another week it could be semicolons. You know, it could be a variety of different things. So he never bought the little packet, right? So it came down to the point where, you know, he was failing my class, and I gave her extra credit opportunities to actually redo like a couple of assignments. He did not take me up on any of those offers. So here we are at the very end of the semester. He is literally failing. And so I let him know the situation. I say, well, you need to, if you purchase this thing, which is required anyway, you purchase this thing, you do your assignments, you know, have your grade there. I can add that and you can pass easy. So he decided he was going to give me a hard time. He decided he's going to give me a really hard time. And, well, you know what? And he sent me an email. I'm going to contact your boss and tell you about you. I don't know exactly what all the emails said, but somehow it was my fault that he was failing at that particular time, even though I stated back in the email, yeah, you know, I gave you opportunity to make up the work and whatnot. And so then he contacted my boss. She contacted me to reach out. So I wrote this lengthy email to her, basically explaining what I just told you. And she said, she emailed me back, said, let me get this straight. So all he has to do is do this one assignment, this, you know, buy this thing, do the assignment so he can pass your class. I said, yes. She's like, okay, so I'm assuming she must have gone and emailed him back and told him basically the situation, which was basically what I told him. And then he came back later on, maybe a week later. So yeah, I had to buy that book, you know, that product, that package. It cost me like $100. You know what? The thing about the military, though, if you're in the military and you come out and go to a public university, they pay for all your books, but you have to get it done within the first 60 days. Because he was being smart and trying to get around it, he ended up having to pay out of pocket. The military was not going to pay for it at that point when you waited to the end of the semester to do it. So yeah, he had to learn a really hard lesson. But for me, that was stressful to have to go through that whole email exchange, the threat of, I'm going to report you to your boss. And it was horrible. And she ultimately had to lay down the law, say either this or that, you choose. And he did the work, and guess what? He passed. You know, it was just so unnecessary. I don't know.
So a guy comes in, he's your age, you're seen as the authority figure. He fails to do a simple thing, and then he blames you. Yeah,
pretty much.
I feel like that's bad. But I am really glad that you had some support at the school. That is one of the best things, which could be a whole nother video, is talking about the other teachers or even parents who have stepped in and said, don't worry, I'll take care of you. And you're like, I'm going to cry, but just on the inside, you know, you're like thankful. But yeah, that's so sniveling and annoying when they're like, I'm going to go over your head. I had a few students do that, but it was when they were like obviously in the hole. I'm like, no, I'm right about this. You know, like, no, I'm right for sure. I'm not always right, but yeah, you know when you are. So both academically and morally right.
Yes, yes.
Let's see. So Natalie says that she thinks the strangest time for her was when I caught a student that Google searched my name, and at that time I used to do musical theater, and they screenshot, saved my headshot online. Hey, I found you online.
Oh yeah. My goodness.
That's immediate discomfort. We were threatened within an inch of our life. You better be careful what you put on Facebook. Once you don't go dancing on bars and all that. Don't, because the schools, you know, they're harder on teachers as far as that goes. And it was like, fine. And I did when I was subbing. I remember I had students who said they found me, but my account was private. But I still went and changed my name. I put a number in front of my name.
That's funny.
Well, I'm going to change that. I just don't want these high school boys. But that was the only time I felt like these people were kind of creeping on my profile. So yeah, that's yay. There's so many colorful situations. Okay, this third one, I have more. Guys, for everyone listening both live and later, we're going to do some honorable mentions at the end. But okay, I'm going to mention this one. And actually, this one caused the most discomfort for me. And I almost didn't count it because this was another absentee student who He only was there a few days out of the year, and I never had to worry about him again. But when he was there, I didn't feel safe. So first day of school, he wasn't there. So I'm like, okay, sometimes on your roster they get dropped. I think he wasn't there the second day. Well, then he shows up and he's just, the words he was saying, you know, he was just disruptive, this and that, this and that. And I just felt like really uncomfortable. And then he was kind of like not taking anything seriously and just kind of laughing. And I got that impression. I'm like, he's not like this little clueless ninth grader that comes in. I think he was like, a lot of repeater kids who have missed days of school, you know, they're like 10th or 11th grade, but if they're failing ninth grade English, they stick them back in there. Mm-hmm. So he was kind of causing trouble. Well, then I'd heard that somebody said, you need to go talk to what do they call him? The school safety officer so-and-so. And so I did. I sought them out. I said, hey, I got this student in the class and he was being kind of disruptive. I was just told to talk to you guys. And they're like, oh, you mean so-and-so? And they're so alarmed. And they're like, you know, rumor has it he shot someone.
Oh.
And
Ooh.
He had been in trouble with the law, another person, sadly, in trouble with the law. And they said, well, if it gives you any trouble, you tell me. And so I hate to say it, but I was kind of like, I hope he doesn't show up, because I'm not the type that can deal with huge issues. You know, maybe one-on-one, but when there's a big class, I felt like I couldn't reach him, you know. And, you know, he did make a comment like, oh, I know this class is important, I'm supposed to do this, but then he didn't write anything down. He was kind of laughing. He was kind of talking to some people, and it felt nefarious, you know, just like something. And so, yeah, he left, and I hated to hear that this school had some students like that. And what I really didn't like was, again, I wasn't prepared. They stick the newer, younger teachers with the most behavior issues, because all the veteran teachers are like, oh, I've paid my dues. And they'll just with that. And then they'll be like, oh, ninth grade English, you're going to have some trouble with this. And I'm like, how about you do the class and I'll do a bit easier so I can, you know, get my feet on the ground here. I didn't like it. Because then you can't empathize with students who are just difficult to reach. You know, sometimes you can have a breakthrough, but that was just, I felt like not very cared for and supported when the school is so big. You got kids like that showing up. No, the front office gives them a schedule like, okay, go to my so-and-so, not knowing it's me and not the drill sergeant teacher that they should have, because they need that discipline, you know.
Right. So, wow. Oof, that was an intense situation there. I wouldn't wish that on anybody.
Yeah, I don't even know if my parents know about that. Like, sometimes I just didn't tell them things and like, they're gonna worry about me or something. But you know, the kids who can handle being in the school building, they stick around. Those who really can't, they, you know. So anyway, I hope it's okay wherever he is.
Right. Yes.
All right. Have we done all of our worst?
We have.
Worst. Okay. Let's transition over here to the best. And the best, I don't know about you, but like, I feel the best is like a lot of small little things sprinkled in throughout the day, throughout the year, whether you're teaching online or in person. So, you know, and by the way, guys, I don't know what her stories are. We didn't practice this part, so I wanted to be surprised. So tell me, in no particular order, what was like a really good experience you've had with a student? Just it can be a tearjerker, it can be a matter-of-fact thing, whatever.
Okay, I remember when I used to teach freshman English, and again, like I said, I did that for about 3.5 years. There was this one student. He was just he was like that perfect student, like the one, the dream student, especially if you're just a teacher and you're still trying to get your feet on the ground, you know, being a teacher of college freshmen. I would say, like, for instance, on the first day of class, like, please, it's important that you contact me. I mean, like, you email me, you let me know if you need help, you come to office hours, you do X, Y, Z, and you go to the writing center. at this university, you know, do all those things and you have a better chance of success. And so this student was the one who just did all of those things. And he would just come to me and say, hey, Ms. Barnes, I just need help with this. Or right after class, and if I had that time after, I would stay. And he would just say, hey, Ms. Barnes, I need help. Can you sit down with me and just look it over with me and whatnot? And he'll just ask my feedback. And he'd just be very receptive and open. Like I would just, you know, say, oh, this looks great here. You might want to, you know, change this or just kind of do a little bit more research here. Like no matter what I said, it was just a good student-teacher relationship. And that's like the stuff that I would wish that I had with all my students. Like he took it seriously. And I appreciated that about him. And like that was years ago. So now he's like like my husband is a registered nurse. He's a registered nurse today. So I was like so proud of him. I'm like, oh my gosh, he can just do anything. I'm so proud.
I love that. That reminds me of one of mine. I guess I'll go with that one first. So I also had a student who this was a middle school age student, and he was just a normal, nice kid who he would volunteer. Now he wasn't like nerdy. I mean, there's nothing wrong with nerds. I guess it's more like he wasn't like, hey, like always raising his hand or like always with an answer, but he was the kid that if you needed someone to do something for you, hey, what will you come, somebody help me kill that bug in the corner, or hey, will somebody volunteer for this particular thing in field day that nobody wants to do? Like he would actually, he gave a dang, you know, like he would show up, he would do things, he helped decorate the door, he would, I mean, and he was athletic, he was just a nice kid. And then when I left the school, I didn't see him for a while, and then, oh gosh, I'm not gonna cry. I saw him one day. It was actually at church, and I didn't know he went to this church because it's a large one. But he saw me, and you know, this is a kid that, you know, they see you at your best, and they see you mad at the class, they see you in a good mood, they see you carrying your little coffee cup around, like do your warm up, all that. And his reaction to me was like, he like came up and hugged me, and he was in 8th grade by this, and probably a lot of kids are too cool to do that. He just came up and hugged me and was like, said my name and was happy to see me. I'm like, hi, I miss you. You know, like I loved those kids, and I really wanted every kid to be that way, but you know, not reality. So
exactly. I agree with that.
You know, nothing false or fake, just behaved, but was a likable kid, but in all, you know, I think everybody liked him. And
right. That's awesome. That's awesome. Did you see there was a comment by Stephanie? She said something about the sound. She could not get the sound to work.
Let's see. I don't know if she's looking on Facebook. She might have. Yeah, there's somebody there. I don't know. Well, turn your sound up. Are you in the car? I know she told me she might be driving. I know who she is.
Oh, okay. I know like there should be like a little what speaker you should be able to tap on in the bottom right corner on the video, and it should just have the audio come through at that point. So hopefully that's helpful. Hopefully.
Stephanie, okay, if you heard her, she was, Jessica said, you may have to tap on the speaker. I noticed that also with Instagram now, like sometimes a video will come up and you're like, shh, and then other times you want to hear it and you miss it, so you have to go back and turn up your sound. In my case, it's sort of tight to my phone, so I have to push really hard.
Right. Oh, wow.
Oh, this is a point that, okay, I sometimes agree with this. Natalie says that, okay, the most challenging students are sometimes the favorites because they can make that massive progress. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, that is true. Especially when you see them at the beginning, and then how they were. And I was even one of those students. Like, yeah, when I was a college freshman, I was one of those students. I mean, like, first, at first, like, receiving feedback at first from my teachers and actually implementing that. But then from the point when I started doing it, and then that one teacher watched me grow from freshman year all the way up to my final year of college. And she saw me right before I graduated, and she had tears in her eyes because she was so proud. Oh, yeah, they could be your challenge at first. yeah, but they make you proud.
That is something too. I mean, I had a kid, he was such a pain, but one day he would do memorable things. Like he wanted to talk to me. He saw me out on the track one day, was like, hey, like wanted to, and I'm like, why are you smiling at me? I really got after you. And I called your mom last week and you're like happy to see me. That makes me feel good. And then he did a backflip right in front of me, scared me half to death, like in the hallway. Yeah, I don't know. He was interesting, but anyways, let's stick to best. Okay, this I love. So one of my favorite things that I'm not great at is art. So I had a lot of kids just over the years who were awesome artists. No, I'm not an art teacher at all. So, but in the English classroom, there is that time where you can't help but notice when kids are taking notes or when you see they take out their stuff and they've drawn something. And you kind of walk around, you're like, hey, what's that? And this one boy, his name, I guess I'm going to say his name because I want to find him. I don't know where he is, but his name is very memorable. It's Michael Moore, not the film guy, but much younger. And he was this amazing, very quiet kid, very smart, beautiful handwriting, amazing artist. And so one day, he was a senior, and one day it was like the last week of school for seniors because I was teaching British Lit. And at the time, I was really into anchors. I want to like anchor, not like an anchor tattoo, but just like any shirt with anchors on it, jewelry, whatever, you know. And I just said, hey, do you want to draw an anchor for me? I can just put it up on my wall like anchors. Well, he said, yeah. Well, the next day, he showed up early in the morning, like when my first class was coming in. He did not have to be there. Seniors were, done. Graduation practice and done. He came with this enormous poster board of this beautifully drawn. It was like an under the sea scene done really lightly with like maybe even color pencil, just pastels.
Oh.
And it was an anchor, but it was like this, like from the 1700s, like really sturdy looking anchor with an octopus clutching it, like a light purple octopus with like the suckers on the legs, like the tentacles, like clutching it. And you could see the sand and everything. I was like, "What? This is for me?" And he was just like, "Yeah." I'm like, "I just wanted a simple anchor. Like, I can't believe you went to the trouble to draw this."
Oh, that's so sweet.
And so I was so happy, I'm like, "Thank you so much." And I asked him to sign it, and he did. And then like later I got it framed, and it's actually in our house today. And
Oh, sweet.
yeah, I was like, I love this so much. And this was like, you didn't really find students on social media, like not back then, we're told not to. So I never really knew what happened to him, especially as a senior. They're not, they're gone from the school. So I just thought that was really kind. And maybe kids who like to draw would draw for anybody, but I just think, I don't know, it was really meaningful to me. I just thought, well, I'm going to remember this for the rest of my life, and no one's going to take this from me. So, and I want to show it. I don't know how to do that yet, but maybe I'll post a picture of it later if you guys want to see it. It's really cool.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Okay. I don't want to talk too long. Your turn.
Oh, did Audrey just say something right here? Did you catch her comment, Audrey?
Here we go. I always give students time to be creative in my math class. Today, totally helped me connect to my students on another level. Yeah, because you don't always want to talk to them about the core content. Sometimes you want to talk to them about their talents, because I mean, if I'm a student with a lot of talent, I want my teachers to notice, whether I say something or not. It just feels good when they notice. So I think he wanted to go do animation, or it could have been for Disney. That's the last I know. So who knows? This picture might be worth a lot of money one day.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah. All right. So what's the best? How many have we done? I'll lose track.
I think I've done one, I believe, but I mean, I can, try to make mine shorter because I know we're running out of time. Okay, but I know I had one student. It was another student. I taught at two universities at one time, and it was college freshman. And so at the other university, I had this one student. He was amazing. Now, he came from a school system. Well, the school system is not a bad school system, but is known for when the kids, take their tests and whatnot, their standardized exams. Normally, they're going to score amongst, kind of like more so the bottom, but not the very bottom. But so he came from one of those school systems, and it seemed like he had more to lose. But he had gone through a nonprofit, and they had a speech club, or actually was a debate club, and it taught him all the elements of speech and everything like that. So that freshman class was a combined English composition and speech class. So he took my class.
Like that.
It was awesome. And he would come in with his speeches every time. He was just always on point. And I was like, that was the one kid, I was always deep down inside, like secretly rooting for, because I knew the school system he had come from. And this college where we were is considered more, people who go there, more so, they're coming from more so wealthy families, upper class families, more so. And so you'll have some of the kids, like for instance, myself, I was not coming from an upper class family when I went to that university. I had the student loans and just a few scholarships and whatnot. So he also came from like a not upper class family as well when he went to that school. But the fact that he went through that nonprofit and went through part of that debate club, and you can be as young as middle school age taking part in that. And those debaters are so cute with the middle school age. But he went through it throughout high school. And by the time he was at college, it was like he had mastered the speaking element. So anytime I told him in class, I gave him feedback about anything he could improve, he would always just add it on to his to-do list for improving for the next speech. And his speeches were like almost perfect. His papers were really good as well. And I was just so proud of him and all that he could do. He was just, again, another ideal student, a good role model for his classmates. And I was like, wow, I wish I was like that when I was his age, because I actually took the same exact class 8 years prior at the same university, and I was not like that at all.
Oh, no, it's so rare when a student can speak up like that and speak in front of the class. I love that. I think that was a huge fear. When you're young, it's especially a fear. So I would just say, why do you like doing this? Because you should try to get some other people to do it. Like even the most extroverted acting kids, you tell them, hey, you're going to do a performance by yourself. They're like, no.
Well, it made me think of a performance with him, because he would always take that deep breath after it was over, and I had to record every single, speech of every student. And so he would always just, when I stopped recording, he ended. He was like, he was like he put on his speaking voice.
Yeah. Oh, love that so much. Oh, it's like you've done it. So my last story is a girl who she would write stories, and she would come up to me and ask me to read them, and they were about vampires and all that. But I love that I had a kid who wanted to read and write, and she told me at the end of the year that I had influenced her that she said writing was her great passion now, and I was surprised, because I thought I didn't feel that from the entirety of the class. And so I'm glad. I thought, okay, I reached one in particular who wanted to come up and say, hey, I love writing. And I just thought, good, please keep doing it. And then she actually also made this, which is, I think I mentioned it in my video about I mentioned it in the video about the desk tour. So this one I keep my highlights in, but she made this, and my old name is on there, before I was married, but with coloring crowns and just a ribbon around it. And it was from a recycled material, so that was pretty cool.
Oh, that's pretty cool. That's awesome.
Especially for a high schooler, because in elementary it's more, I think it's more customary, or it was, for kids their parents would like make sure teachers would get a Starbucks gift card or a little Christmas ornament with an apple on it or something like that. So, all right. Is that it? Do we have more?
I think I have one more, and I'll just to make it short. Actually, I'm going to flip back over to my tutoring business. So I have a student. My dream students, when I ask them, to like, okay, if you need to study for a test or whatever, like you're putting in the necessary amount of time. So I do have a student who recently, he's one of my older students. I'm working to get into his dream graduate school program, and so he knew already before that he needed to be regular studying. And then I started practicing with him as well, and also implementing my music aspect, which I love to do with tutoring if it can be beneficial to them. And so then he took that test, and he said, I took it the first time, the score was this low, and it was like fairly low in comparison to what he needed. And so then he took it again after he worked with me, but in addition to studying regularly like he needed to do, and he jumped up 14 points. And I was just so excited. I was like, oh, finally somebody who just knows that, for instance, like if you're a teacher or you're a tutor, it recommends to you, you need to be studying regularly and taking this stuff seriously. Like when a student does that, like it just makes my day. And because you're going to see a result like that, like 14 points
Mm.
a jump, 14 points. And so he's so much close. He's like just that close to getting the score he needs to be competitive for his program. But he's going to take it one more time. But at least now I think he's like at least 8 points away just from getting that minimum. And I'm like, ooh, 14 points to get to, you're just 8 points away. I'm just so proud to know that was a reality. But that's why I keep telling the students, like, please just make sure you're studying and you're being persistent. Don't stop.
Well, when he gets in, he can be a testimonial for your tutoring business, and
Oh,
then
yes. I definitely intend to do that.
Yeah, I mean, because that's such a huge deal. I mean, they're not gonna forget about you and how you've helped them. You're getting into college, taking those tests, studying for those tests is hard and hard to do alone, especially. So you're helping them achieve that gap. I would have needed you back then because I was like, I don't want to do the SAT. No, I did not like that. So let's see, honorable mentions, because the more we talk, the more we think. Let's do another couple minutes, then we'll close. All right, guys, and Jessica. Okay, if anyone is still, a couple people still here in the comments, raise your hand or comment. If you had kids like mine, a few students who were only in the building in the desks because they were legally obligated to be there. They did not. I had just a few who they would not pick up a pencil. They would not write anything down because they had, some personal issues. And that was really tough because I'm like, I thought if you're in the room, you're going to learn. Like, I thought I could make kids learn and like it. And boy, that wasn't true. I had kids who were just like angry about being in the room. Like, I don't want to be here. And that's what makes you think, okay, maybe I don't want to do this or not in the classroom. So have you ever had kids that are like, no pencil, no paper, no backpack, nothing?
Are you referring to me or are you referring to your?
Well, I guess, yeah, because it's hypothetically, you're like, no, yeah. But most teachers I know have had some kids like that, especially older.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about at the college level, though. But there's money involved and such. They're paying to be there.
Yeah, well, I was actually seeing it at the college level before, and I actually feel like in those cases, I mean, I actually believe some students are actually forced to go to college because I feel confident I've had at least 2 of them in my classroom over my 3.5 years, and one actually did ultimately drop out. And I was thinking to myself, in the back of my mind, I knew I felt in my gut, your parent made you come into school because you gave me like a horrible time. That was one I did not even talk about, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, no. We didn't get on here to complain about it because it's, you hear other teachers do it and it's like, yes, but it's not our fault that these kids would show up unprepared. We could do our part as much as we can, call the parent. That's another thing I had to really get over was I don't think I called barely anybody my first year of teaching. I'm like, I don't like really calling strangers on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to call that person's parent. And I mean, I had teachers would be on the phone constantly calling.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're really supposed to, and that's like maybe 100 kids all together. Like at a certain point you have to call, and you never really are calling with good news, that you'd like to say,
Mm-hmm.
your son did a great job. Garrett was today. I mean, it's just with the way the school system is, there's hardly time. But right. Yeah, Audrey, many of them were transferred to my classroom from another teacher. Yeah, I've had a few transferred from my class and into my class, just either or. Like there was a couple of times I had a teacher help me out. I'm like, these people can't be together because they seem hard to reach. So what's another honorable mention as far as it can be either best or worse? You're on the spot.
Oh, okay. I thought you said my screen froze. Okay. Well, for instance, well, I'm not gonna even fib on it. But like today, I met a little fella for the first time. By the way, in addition to being a founder and owner for the Prizes consultant, I am also a speech language pathologist. That's my day job. And so I met at elementary school, which I love the experience overall. And because I'm already an educator at heart, I love it. But this little young fella today, I met him for the first time. He's a kindergartner. Oh my goodness. And so it was the occupational therapist that told me before about how she tried to work with him online maybe earlier this year. And he was being aggressive toward his caretaker at home. And I was thinking, oh, wow, I wonder if he's different at school. So today he wasn't like being aggressive, but anytime I'm saying like, oh, let's look at this video about Thanksgiving. I said, what is this? Is it pumpkin pie? No, like, wow. So we're going to have to work on some strategies because that was my first time meeting this one today.
Huh. So he's got it's like speech impediment. Is that why he's shouting?
I think for the reason he sees me as the speech therapist, like to expand his language, to say, longer sentences and whatnot. And so I can and also be exposed to more language. I think he just has a deficiency in that. And sometimes kids have that. So you just give them speech therapy for that reason. But apparently he also has like a behavioral issue, so which is going to make it harder for him to learn. So we're going to have to find some interesting strategies. We had a lot of times of trying to take off the mask multiple times, even though everyone was supposed to be wearing a mask, and we're in the pandemic. So
he's like, no.
Yeah, and it's like, and he would bite on the mask from the inside. Like, please stop, please stop. Like, let's just have this conversation and talk. And like I said, this is a kindergarten. I was like, I have to. So far, out my caseload, that's the toughest one I've had to deal with, and this is my first day with him, so I'm going to have to be creative. But I am grateful that I think next week we virtually teach Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday through Friday we're out of school for Thanksgiving holiday. So.
Oh yeah, maybe he needs just a little Thanksgiving. Gosh, what was I going to say about him? Yeah, I guess eventually when you say things like use your words, he'll know more words.
Ooh.
Now, I know you're working with the kindergartner now, but you've worked with college students that are your age. So it's pretty amazing the path that you've been on, like what is it?
Older, my parents' age too, but they were like the easy students. They were so awesome. I was nervous about them, but I was like, oh my gosh, they're my parents' age. They're gonna give me a hard time. Other than that one who said, don't say that, when I said something like, oh, in class, like, I think I used the term that sucks, and it was the teacher. She was like the student was like my mother's age or a little bit older. She said, don't say that. I think it was reflexive. Like, she knew I was younger than her, and I think it was just a reflex. So I looked at her like, but I'm the teacher.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, they still want to kind of be a mom to you at some certain point. So sure.
Yeah.
That's cute. I would have been like, oh, I'm like, sorry, I'm feeling
I just kind of paused a moment, and some of my younger students was like smiling, like, yeah, that student just told the teacher that.
That's rude. Oh, okay. Well, because they were told that a lot, they were probably told that. Okay, man, it's 46. We're at 46 minutes. Does anybody else have an amazing thing they'd like to share before we go? Oh, it's quiet. Yeah, thank God for Thanksgiving. Yeah, we're very
yes.
So I actually did a video. I was talking about teacher confidence and all that, but I guess I'll put it out maybe next Thursday. And I just got in the mood one day to make it. But yeah, I think, I'm off. Definitely on Thanksgiving. So I think this will be like the first vacation in a while. So make sure that you're taking time to rest and stay with your family too. All right, guys, I'm going to close. Thank you so much for coming and listening.
Thank you.
And please come and look at Jessica's Instagram. Let me take Audrey's comment off for a second. Go look at forotherprizes. And if I have you on here again, I think I figured out how to upload your TikTok/Instagram reel videos where you're teaching SAT information with music. It's just something I've never seen before. So definitely worth checking out. If you haven't seen Jessica's page yet, you guys need to go and look. Okay. So also, if you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe to JPez Talks, because I like doing this stuff. It's really fun. So guys, have a wonderful night, and we'll come on some other time.
Thank you.